cloud. Let's try that. There we go. I'm also recording on my wee recorder as well.
It says recorded in my screen, so...
Well, here's hoping. It's a good backup. Aye. Right.
Are you doing this in your bathroom?
My bathroom. It's not
looks like a shower. Looks like a shower curtain.
No, that's my normal curtains.
It's curtains.
That's a bold choice, Cammy.
Well, I haven't got anywhere else to sit. I can't go and sit in my. I've got a nice backdrop in my office normally because I've got a signed Richie Gray shirt, but it's next to the Ben's bedroom, so I can't go in. I'll wake him up.
I've got Bruce Springsteen's arse over there, and that's my Batman poster.
Which Batman poster? Is it the one behind your head?
That one there over my right shoulder. It's a Dark Knight poster that changes depending on how you look at it, so you can see Two-Face, Batman, or Joker. Got it at a preview screen.
Very nice. What have you got behind you, John?
I've got my guitar collection freshly hung, and a Metallica poster and a drum kit.
Very nice. And Sandy, you've got is that a pinboard behind you?
It's my display of empty Scottish or some Scottish rugby gin bottles.
Very good.
On a thing I made myself.
Okay, so we think this is working. Joy, just give us my live videos ended.
Oh, what?
Well, that's not going to work. View post, delete video and return to page. If you continue this, it's permanently deleted. Confirm. Let's have a look and see why that finished early. This is all going really swimmingly. This is why I wanted to do it now.
So you've not got Doogie Donnelly sitting looking at you, just going.
I can't believe. I know. I can't believe. Don't put third-party video ads in your live video. I didn't. Ensure any pre-recorded content is clearly distinguishable from live content. Right, let's try again on that. So I'm going to press the go live button here. You can swear now, Ian, if you want.
Let it out.
Choose where you want. Right, so I'm going to go live on a page that I manage. And I'm going to go live on the Scottish Rugby blog, posting as the Scottish Rugby blog. I'm going to go to next. It's preparing live stream preview. I'm going to say it picked up the word Batman and didn't like it.
What? Or Metallica, maybe. Maybe it doesn't like Metallica. Yeah.
Right.
So it's like they shouldn't have done that to Dave Mustaine. Megadeth all the way.
Facebook's a Megadeth fan.
I'm sorely. I'm sorely tempted to turn on auto-generated captions on this.
Be amazing.
Dress rehearsal for our big club.
Carl Frampton, is that the Northern Irish boxer? I saw like a YouTube video where it had like the subtitles were trying to keep up with his accent, and it just epicest of fails. It was beautiful.
Big club dinner, dress rehearsal. Let's have a look. Event you're hosting. So I'll go live. Interactive polls. Event logs on. Broadcast stream. Go live. Broadcast webinar. Setting your meeting for Facebook Live.
It's
live on Facebook.
We are live on Facebook, so it says.
Does it?
It says.
It says there.
It says you're tracking us like Big Brother, and it says we're live on Facebook.
No, all it's done is taken me to my Facebook page, which isn't. So look.
Not ideal, is it?
It's not ideal because I can't really monitor it from there. Let's just see if we go to the. Let's go to the home and see if we are live yet on here. No, live. Does it say we're live? Oh, look, there we are, happening now, live now. 5 people watching us. That's good.
It might be all of us.
It could be us. It could be us watching it, testing it. That happens. The thing is, if I turn that on, that's. Oh, look, there we go. A few seconds ago, the Scottish Rugby Plug's live. There you are, John. You're on there.
Yep.
Possibly saying it could be us. There we go. There we go. Right. Hopefully that'll stick now. I don't know why it cut out before. So hello, everybody. Welcome back to our live podcast. It's a dress rehearsal for our big club dinner. If it cuts out, I've got no way of knowing. So if anybody who knows me who has my number, please tell us if this cuts out. We can try and fix it. Hello, Mum and Dad. Probably speaking to you. I think you're probably the only people that are watching this that have got my number. So I'm recording this as well on my wee dictaphone thing. So we've got a live podcast tonight. It's a test, like I said, for our big club dinner at the end of July. So we're going to launch into our normal podcast because some people won't be watching this live and they'll be puzzled if they were just to start their podcast with this weird intro. So we'll go from the top. This is it's a peek behind the curtain, this, folks. It's exciting. Hello and welcome everybody to the Scottish Rugby Podcast brought to you by the Scottish Rugby Blog. I am Cammy Black. It's a special podcast tonight. We are broadcasting this live on Facebook. People who are on there can see our faces. God help them. So you get to see... you get to see us all rolling our eyes at each other, which you don't normally get to see. This is a test for our so that kind of dress rehearsal. We're doing it this week, and then we're going to do it the week after again, just a bit of a dress rehearsal for our big club dinner on the 24th of July at 8:30 p.m, where we're going to have speeches from guest speakers. We've got Scott Hastings, Dougie Donnelly, podcast legend that he is. We've got Holly Davidson, international referee. We've got Scotland national winger, Rona Lloyd. And we've also got Squidge Rugby joining us as well. A couple of other people possibly might be joining us as well, but we'll announce that as we get those confirmed. However, joining me this evening, although you're on Facebook, you'll be able to see their faces and their names and everything. But joining me this evening, I've got three people with me. First up, I'm going, as people appear on my screen, we've got John Anderson.
Good evening, folks.
Sandy Smith.
Evening all.
And Ian Hay.
Hello. I think I was last to join the party, so that's probably why I'm at the end.
Well, you didn't test your audio, did you?
No, I did. It just wasn't working properly.
Have you turned a filter on, Ian? Because you like you've got a pencil effect.
No,
on your,
I mean, I'm just the palest human being in the universe, and also the only sort of light source is the window. I've got sort of bay windows, and that's right in front of me.
All right, I thought you turned on some filter.
On that that radio, what's it called? Radio News Hub.
Oh yeah, you were on like a live radio. You were like a live radio. Though they told you it was radio, and then you had to turn up and be on video.
Yeah, it's a good thing I got washed because I was bogging.
I think you can't smell down. You can't smell over the telly.
I know, but I just looked bogging. You know, when you look at somebody, you're like, I bet he's reeking of cheese. That's my third demeanour.
Yeah.
I think I would have been more cigarette butts, and even though I don't smoke, I just look like I smell like fag ends and cans of lager.
I would make it. Sandy, do you want a chip in there with a joke about people for Glasgow? Or are we just going to let that one go?
I can't really when it comes down to it because I come from even further west at the end of the day. So.
Oh, it's all coming out now.
Splitter, eh?
I've told you this before. I'm Campbelltown man originally, so it's only John I think that's further west than me. Don't get much further west than Campbelltown.
No, you do not.
We are going to have a bit of a mop-up tonight of news because we haven't done a news podcast for a while. We've been kind of going back in history to try and ignore the fact that the present day is even happening. But as we've been away, there have been lots of things happening in the world of Scottish rugby and a bit further afield, so we thought we'd have a wee bit of a mop-up. We'll start with the pro teams first. Sandy, I'll come to you first, and Embra have done a lot of business, I would say, over lockdown. They've fairly bolstered the squad. Are you kind of happy with the way the squad's shaping up?
Yeah, I mean, it's been... I mean, to be fair, it's actually hard to keep up with the number of signings that have actually come in. I've just got a fly just crawl across my screen. But live on Facebook. But obviously the only kind of takeaway is the situation at standoff with John Lance not getting to join for visa problems. So probably has left us quite light there, although everybody's kind of happy that that the young Mr. Chamberlain's going to get more of a chance because we've really only got two 10s at the club, which is not bad because I think we're pretty strong in other positions, I think.
Yeah. Glasgow, I don't know who to start with here. John, we'll go with you. There's been a wee bit of the big news was Leone Nakarawa signing for another season. I mean, that's good news, I guess, but it plugs a wee hole, but it's not. There's still gaps all over the squad at the minute, isn't there?
Yeah, I think I was trying to look at this the other day, and when Nicaragua re-signed, and obviously there's a lot of noise about the lack of signings at Glasgow and a lot of people leaving the club. The fact is, we've signed a 60 cap British and Irish Lion. We've signed a World Player of the Year in positions that Glasgow we have historically struggled a wee bit. Particularly in the rainy years, our forward pack wasn't up to scratch. And I was kind of trying to understand what Danny Wilson's doing. And there's money to be spent in those forwards. And yeah, we're going to have to maybe make do a wee bit in the backs. We've got a lot of talented backs there already. Obviously, there's the news yesterday, Rufus McLean being signed as a back three cover. So I think we always forget that, it's a finite budget and it has to be spread. And we have a lot of talented backs already, so spending a bit of money up front isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, Ian, it's interesting. Jason O'Halloran, we alluded to the interview he gave with Jamie Lyle on Rugby Pass last week, I think, when we were talking about some of the comments he'd made around the budget for Scottish teams. And he was kind of saying, better. His view was certainly invest in youth and bring through young players rather than going for a past it Southern Hemisphere import.
Yeah, a lot of the time it was kind of like if you're buying a new TV, Sony's going to cost you more than a different make, even though it's made in the same factory. So it just seemed to be that, and that Dave Rennie said the same thing at a fan meet and greet towards the end of last year when they looked to replace Hogg. They were just like, with the budget, we didn't find anyone that in their black book of contacts, they didn't find anyone who was going to improve the club to a significant standard given to what they were looking at spending. Like John said as well, obviously, we've got this current crisis, which is damaging the economy. I think there would have been possibly more activity had that not occurred, but there's a huge amount of players left, and it's more the sort of makeup of the squad more than anything. I think it's unbalanced. We've got 5 hookers and 2 locks. We've got 3 locks now on the books because Karen McDonald's not signed up, but there's Nicaragua, Richie Gray, and Scott Cummings. Rob Harley can fill in, but then you've got a back row jersey to fill, and obviously Matt Smith's surprise retirement. Has certainly rocked the boat a bit. What with Cully going as well, so that only leaves Tom Gordon and Fizarro as sort of recognised open sides.
The big rumour been kicking around for a while now, no one's been able to substantiate this, is that Luke Crosby's coming.
Yeah, I've heard that rumour. Obviously, Edinburgh are very well stacked, even with the loss of John Barclay, they're very well stacked in that back row. Richie, Watson, Mata, Bradbury, all class acts, even Nick Haining as well, who's been recently Scotland capped. And Crosby's just not getting game time, the same problem. Matt Smith was having the same problem. We'll see if Crosby does move across. Obviously, there's, like I said, the finances aren't what they would have been. So it might be a sort of suitably budgetable alternative.
There was an interesting thing in terms of the current climate, Sandy, on Rugby Pass this weekend. It was Jamie Lyle interviewing Matt Scott. And it was interesting that I think this speaks more about the SRU than it does Edinburgh Rugby, because I don't think it was an Edinburgh Rugby decision that there was a contract offer on the table to him, and him and his agent believed that they'd been given months to mull it over, and his whole thing was he was going to accept. He'd just been told he had the time to look at it, and then when they went back, they were told it no longer existed and there'd never been an offer on the table in the first place. And then he phones Richard Cockerill and says, I will stay, whatever budget you've got, but that budget's gone. I think on that point at John O'Lance, and obviously the budget then probably came back, but it was too late at that point. But I mean, are you disappointed to lose Scott?
It was probably the biggest. I mean, it was starting to look likely because Edinburgh had tied up almost everybody else that they wanted to keep fairly early on in the campaign, and So in Scott and Simon Hickey were the kind of two that you weren't reading or hearing anything about, and then so it wasn't a huge surprise. However, and it's a big loss. I think, but I can only suspect that as time's gone on, that they've taken a wee look and to see, well, how often does he play? Is he injured a bit? Is he, can we get, given that the budget's is tighter, can we get somebody in who might be able to do as good a job, or is the likes of George Taylor stepping up, and we don't necessarily need to spend the big bucks that Matt Scott would command. I think you're right. He did. I read that he more or less told Cockrell that he would stay for whatever they were going to pay him. But I think perhaps by that point there was no money, for what I can gather. It was they'd probably already spoke to. I mean, the two incoming centres, obviously the Matt Gordon and the young lad from South Africa. They'll not be on anything like the money that Matt Scott would have been on. So perhaps it's just a case of, well, if we don't have to spend on Matt Scott's wages, we can keep a hold of somebody else and maybe not have to lose him. I mean, the thing about Crosby is actually, I've heard that, I've read about it, I've been told about it, and I've not seen anything happen in that regard. I'm starting to wonder, given the amount of time, and we're not that far away now before the games resume, whether that is actually happening, and whether that was perhaps one of the things that has come out of the Matt Scott situation. They've got a wee bit more money to be able to keep him. I understand the talk about getting game time. I think he played. I mean, I know it was an unusual season with the World Cup and all the rest of it, but I think he played something like certainly. I think I looked at it the other day, about 80% or something in Edinburgh's games this last season. He was involved in a lot, World Cup year accepted, but George Taylor, I think, is shaping up to be a Matt Scott replacement, and I think we've got adequate cover, and I think that's perhaps where it's come from. It's just, well, he's on big bucks. We need to bring folk in, so the budget's been squeezed, and unfortunately Matt's been the one that's been pushed to one side.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing, and John, I'll come to you on this, the other big talking point, and it's been Richard Cockrell been talking about this more than, I think, coming out of Danny Wilson, but you assume that this is universal now across the SRU in terms of the approach that the pro teams squads are going to be streamlined, I think is the polite way of putting it. And Cockrell's talking more, using the Super Six more, that's going to be the gateway in. Is that, given what Gordy Reid said recently, that it's just not, it's not even at the standard of the English Championship, is that a viable solution, or given everything that's going on, should we be back to the drawing board in terms of Super Six?
So I think this is necessary. I don't think in any world, I think if the SRU had a choice, they would prefer it not to be so. However, the circumstances being the way they are, and they also have the added complication of the Super Six needs to be proven to do something. So they've invested money in the Super Six. Obviously it's had its starts, it's had its controversies already, but they need to be showing that there's a reason for it to exist, because all the other countries in the Pro 14 are doing something different. They're doing a different route to expose people, second, third tier players to professional rugby, or a level of professional rugby, and we're doing something different. So I think the SRU really have quite a vested interest in making sure that the Super Six gets every opportunity to succeed, and I think that's fair. Had the situation that's happening just now with finances not been the case, I'm not sure that it would have been quite as comprehensive, particularly today with the announcement, they said about the alignment of the players, and Jim Malander was saying it's probably the closest that the players are going to be aligned to those clubs that we've ever seen. They're going to be able to train with them professionally throughout their time in the academy. So that's the next step of this, and I think they're going to come to a time, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, where you see how many of these people that are playing Super Six just now and are aligned to clubs, how many of them are going to graduate to the pro clubs. That'll be the big test of the Super Six. It's fine for Gordy Reid to say, it's no good enough for me, or it's, the level isn't quite right, but it's in its infancy, and we forget, we talk a lot about players coming in. Matt Scott's on decent money at Edinburgh, but wanting to play for whatever. You've always got to create these opportunities for players to come through. And whilst Glasgow's kind of resembled a bit of a retirement home recently, we've still, we've moved on Finn Russell, Adam Hastings come in. We've previously moved on Nakarawa. You've got Cummings, you've got Gray, you've got people like that coming to the fore. We need to create these spaces. There's only 23 spaces in a matchday squad. We need to create these spaces for guys to play. So it's always disappointing to lose an international or lose a great player, but it's what comes next that's important.
Yeah, I mean, there's a rumour going around that the Southern Knights have written to all the clubs in the borders asking for help because Melrose Melrose have their own difficulties. I mean, they've announced today that they've cancelled their Sevens tournament. They're asking people to donate the cost of the ticket that they've paid back to the club to help their running costs, or to defer the ticket till next year rather than asking for a refund. I don't think Southern Knights have been universally popular within Melrose as a club either. And one of the suggestions is that Southern Knights have written to the other clubs in the borders and asking for help and support and to make it more of a regional side. Given, I mean, I suppose it speaks to the current climate. I mean, do you think it's maybe, from my point of view, I think maybe now is the time to look at it from scratch and say, do you go regional, I suppose, rather than these franchises that were arbitrarily set up?
Well, if in regional, you'd only up with a Super 4 if it was just regional. And then,
well, you're doing yourself a
games.
disservice, and you could have 2 in Glasgow and 2 in Edinburgh.
2 in Glasgow, come on.
I know.
We didn't even get one. We didn't even get one the last time. It's Ayr. What you need to remember, I can't remember actually where I saw it. I was looking at it there while John was speaking. I was listening also, John. But Super 6 only it didn't even get a full season. It barely got 4 months of a run in. And I don't think we were going to see any fruits of the labour for a year or two. God Reid said, that for the backs it was fine. And this article, I can't remember who it was that said it. It's annoying me. It said that sort of ball and play time was pretty high, and sort of looking at GPS stats, they were nearly on a par in terms of like distance covered, tackles made, that kind of thing, with the pros. But God Reid's main concern was in the tight 5 and scrummaging, where obviously you've got some bigger brutish sorts who've been doing it for a while. If the Knights are struggling financially, then you really have to wonder about really, yes, are you right to awarding the franchise? Was that the right way to go? Obviously, they would have been banking on a lot of money from the Melrose Sevens, which is now not coming to pass. But, I mean, can you imagine any of the Borders rivals genuinely want to help them out? I can't see it. That's how a lot of people think that the Border Reivers folded, was because, the sort of inter-town rivalry was so high. It's like, I'm not going over there to watch them in that stadium kind of talk, So, but where did you see this rumour about Melrose asking?
Someone messaged me about it.
Right.
To suggest. I think that I think there's something to it, because they've written to all the clubs in the borders. Is my understanding. I think. Right.
So could they apply for one of the hardship grants, or was it only Prem and downwards?
I think it was only Prem downwards. I think it's only amateur game that could apply for. So Melrose would be entitled to. I think, in fact, when Melrose are talking about the Sevens today, they've said that the furlough scheme and the hardship grants have pretty much helped keep the club going and keep them afloat. Because I think technically Southern Knights would be a separate entity altogether. And whether or not, I think there's, when times are hard, if Southern Knights haven't been popular within Melrose itself as a venture, then it's hard to persuade people to stump up money if the club itself going under, which I suppose comes back to the thing, if you'd managed to, it's borders rugby shooting in itself in the foot again. If you'd managed to get some sort of buy-in from everybody to go together as it for a regional team, which would have made sense in the borders, a regional representative side rather than Gala and Melrose putting in separate competing bids, there might have been something in that. But that relies on people putting self-interest to one side and working for the common good, which is probably why, as Jason O'Halloran was alluded to in his interview, that that's one of the big issues in the borders. You can point the finger at the SRU being Edinburgh-centric and concentrating on the private schools all you want, but if you haven't got clubs working together or willing to work together to form regional representative sides, then it's they're on to, yeah, exactly. So
is it the Southern Knights you're a fan of, Ian? Which
yeah.
one is that? The one you were accused of being a fanboy?
No, it was their opponents, Watsonians. Even though I said that Southern Knights for I think it was for over an hour of the game, they were by far the better side. But apparently, I was a Watsonians fan and I was giving them far too much credit. Even though I've said, one guy made the difference, basically.
I also hear you don't like Finn Russell.
Oh yeah, terrible player. Love him. I'm going to get a big Finn tattoo on my back. Me and him cuddling, and I love it.
Whilst nutmegging a Munsterman.
Yeah. There's a weeping Munsterman in the background.
Keith Earls on his knees.
It'd have to be Keith Earls.
The other new, when I kind of was talking about doing this podcast and drawing up an agenda, I said, let's talk about the Sevens and the fact that we're potentially merging with the other teams. But the SRU then put out a statement saying that's not happening. I seem to remember this happened last time round when it was coming to the Olympics, that there were meetings about how the GB setup would work. And some journalist somewhere picked it up and said, they're merging all the teams, all the, GB, England, Wales and Scotland together. I mean, Sandy, Sevens has been a really good gateway, I think, for young Scottish players. I mean, certainly Edinburgh have reaped that through Darcy Graham, for example. I think he played for at least a couple of seasons, I think, for the Sevens. I know there's a video somewhere of Hamish Watson, a fresh-faced Hamish Watson, coming through the Sevens as well early on. So it would seem daft to get rid of it as a side altogether, especially given the history.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems that Scotland used the Sevens programme not necessarily with the objective of trying to win every tournament that they enter. I mean, they want to, don't get me wrong, but that it's more a tool to give guys an opportunity to pick up some skills that they're maybe short with, something to do that if they need to go somewhere in decision making, whatever it happens to be. Because there's been a few that have gone away from maybe like 2 or 3 tournaments and come back. Ali Miller, I think, one that falls into that category. So there's I like the way that Scotland uses this programme. I mean, obviously we want to win as many tournaments, particularly at Twickenham, as we can. But I think, given that we've only got 2 pro sides, to be able to give guys an opportunity to play at that level. If they can't quite get into the Edinburgh or Glasgow, is good. I mean, you're right, Darcy Graham. I mean, James Johnson spent quite a lot of time at Scotland Sevens and is now obviously not quite first pick at Edinburgh, but he's there or thereabout. Jamie Flandale's now specifically an Edinburgh player, so these guys have spent time back and forwards, and it's definitely been of value to both that. I think, I'm not sure how many have come back to Glasgow, but certainly for Edinburgh anyway.
Yeah, and John, I mean, does it matter that Scotland kind of once every 3-4 years throw up a surprise, or is it kind of the big game experience and being on tour and everything that surrounds that? Is that more important, do you think, for player development?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think Sevens is a really useful tool when used in the right method. And to Sandy's point, Glasgow have had plenty of players use the Sevens circuit as well, particularly for game time. And I remember when I think it was Blair Kinghorn was having a bit of a crisis of confidence towards the end of a season at Edinburgh. They used the Sevens to just get him back on the field, get his confidence back. So I think it's funny because we always have this thing with Scotland in that we we always joke about how professionalism kind of took us by surprise and it took us 20 years to catch up. But I think we're one of the best at using the sevens as a development tool. And we're not going to win every tournament. We've not, even if we put out our best sevens team every week, we wouldn't win the World Series. That's just the way it is. But we use it to develop players. And you look at George Horn, played a couple of games at the sevens, tore the place apart, comes back and goes into a Glasgow team and is tearing up trees and hasn't stopped since. So we use it in a very creative way, and I think it's a worthwhile investment. And I think obviously last time this was talked about, the SRU were talking about defunding the sevens, and it was obviously decided that it's worth the money that's spent on it, and I wholeheartedly agree. I think it's a great tool.
Defund the sevens. That sounds like a misbegotten Twitter hashtag.
Yeah, I couldn't put my actual Twitter hashtag on, so I just I had to
defund the sevens. Ian, you do wonder with the finance of it all. I know it didn't go particularly well for America, but it's a shame that we've lost the sevens as part. We lost the leg of the sevens in Scotland because, it's 3 days. It's a big event. I think you probably have a lot more popularity. It certainly did well at the Commonwealth Games. You think it's something that the SIU should be looking at, try to get it back in Scotland?
Yeah, especially as it's such a fast-growing sport. Did not say it was sort of. I think women's rugby is obviously something like the fastest-growing sport in the world in terms of participants, and sevens rugby on its own, especially after the Olympics exposure. It's definitely growing, and it's something that the neutral, well, maybe not the neutral, but somebody who's looking to get into rugby can enjoy. Because let's be honest, sometimes Test rugby can be a bit of a dirge. Just an absolute, look at the Wales-South Africa World Cup semi-final. Some people enjoyed it. I thought it was tedious as hell. It was just booting it back and forward, looking for territory, waiting for a mistake. Whereas this is, fun, fast, rapid. My brother's not a rugby fan in any shape or form, but he went to the Sunday of the Commonwealth Sevens and he said he absolutely loved it. But unfortunately, we got it to, even though we were the developers of the game, World Rugby thought we can get more money out of having a leg in Qatar, so they canned it. Which again is just chasing the dollar. I think it was a bit of a slap in the face, to be honest.
Well, I think it's interesting because I think the LA Sevens have pretty much bankrupted rugby USA alone. Yeah. So there's probably, I would imagine they'd be happy to give a leg up. And it's not like we haven't got the infrastructure to do it. You've got, Murrayfield could easily host it. It's, and Murrayfield lends itself to sevens because of the large. I know we've got there's the mini field being built on where you normally have the back pitches, but from a structural point of view of having the ground around it that people could come into like a compound rather than a stadium, it certainly lends itself to that kind of day out, John.
Yeah, I think so. I think did they hosted the sevens once at Murrayfield?
It was the World. Was it the first Sevens World Cup they held at Murrayfield? I think in the 90s.
I remember being there for sevens. I can't remember what the tournament was.
Why was that, Sandy?
I was sober, but strangely enough, the only thing I can remember is French players throwing their socks into the crowd after the match.
It's a bit grim. I
want to catch that.
But certainly, having went to the sevens at Scotstoun, it was the party atmosphere. It was absolutely brilliant, and there was people, like you say, people who weren't into rugby or didn't follow 15s rugby, who went along or got a ticket for it, and just had a cracking day out. And as Ian says, sometimes 15s isn't that accessible, especially with the amount of money it costs to go to a test match now. So how do you get people along? Well, these weird events are a good gateway.
Yeah. Speaking of events or larger, I suppose the flip side of that is the larger events in the autumn tests is there's not much come out of Scotland, I don't think, in the SRU. The RFU have kind of said a couple of things. The big news, I think, was that the top 14 teams have approved or given the go-ahead certainly to 6 tests in the autumn for France. In principle, I don't think the fixtures are set in stone yet. the kind of rumours that are going round is that World Rugby are about to give permission for a Northern Hemisphere 8-team tournament, which would allow the 6 teams in the Six Nations to finish off that tournament, and would also then feature teams. I think would feature Japan and Fiji, because Australia and New Zealand can't travel at the minute. Argentina, I don't know what the situation in Argentina is, but I assume likewise they're not about to jump on a plane over here, or whether or not that they're allowed to come over here. But it's 8 games sounds like a lot when there's a domestic season to finish, but at the same time, Ian, it's we need the money, and even if you're not going to have fans in Murrayfield, the broadcaster money alone is going to be welcomed.
Yeah, but I mean, how's this format going to work? Because they're still talking about finishing off the Six Nations, which would mean each team's got a game to finish off, and then was it Japan and Fiji?
Japan and Fiji,
right? So they're basically being asked, because the SRU and all the other nations are like, we can't get the All Blacks and the Australians. Quick, we'll ask someone else. And they're like, who needs the money? The Fijians, they're cheap. The Japanese, we'll ask them. They enjoyed the World Cup. Rugby's still on a high there. I don't see how you can fit that many test matches in. Also, they wouldn't be test matches, would be. The people are still warming up. It's... I see it as a non-starter. I mean, even people wouldn't be that interested. I don't think television viewing figures are that high. I don't think broadcasters would be looking to snap your hand off to show some semi-fit professional test rugby, which has nothing at stake. So yeah, I'm not into this. I don't think
no.
No. Finish off the Six Nations. Maybe get another couple of matches in. I don't know, have a Scotland-England match, because people are interested in stuff like Scotland-England matches. Basically, everyone wants to beat England, so just have like England playing matches every week until they get beat.
And tie them out for the Six Nations in 2021.
Absolutely, yeah.
To be fair, I think the RFU would be up for that as long as they got money. I mean, they're about 50 gazillion in debt just now, aren't
it's
they?
just the Premiership clubs would throw their hat in a tizzy about it.
It's fine. Eddie Jones will sort them out.
I was going to say they're on the brink of bankruptcy anyway, so
they won't have any contracted players. But Leicester, there's 5 major players at Leicester who are basically refusing to train at the moment, and Ellis Genge is amongst them.
Yeah.
So their contract situation is... Well, they've been asked to take further pay cuts, and they're not signing.
Genge's moving though, isn't he? He's
Bristol. He's signed for Bristol.
Bristol, I thought, yeah.
No, is that not Sinclair?
Might be Sinclair.
I thought Ellis Genge had signed for somebody that wasn't.
It was on Rugby Pass today. I saw Kyle Eastman was one of the names as well. George Ford was mentioned, so it was like some pretty big name players.
Who would sign a contract?
Bristol Bears outbid by Leicester for Ellis Genge. There you go. That's where I got it from. So yeah, he signed for Leicester, but the Bristol Bears were in from there. That's where I got confused about it. So yeah, Sandy, I mean, is this a start for you? I mean, International Rugby brings in big money, but I mean, I think they were talking about at one point, even if the Scottish government will allow people into Murrayfield, you're looking at, I think, about 35,000 socially distanced, but then that relies on, that's in an ideal world of people turning up in twos, like some sort of giant Noah's Ark in the middle of the West End of Edinburgh, fans walking 2 by 2, 2 metres apart, staying 2 metres apart the entire game. It doesn't seem workable from a fan point of view, but from a broadcast point of view, is it worth it?
I mean, it just depends where they get paid, but I mean, you would have to think that, a full stadium requires, in terms of somebody occupying every part of it, rather than requires stewarding for every part of it. So the stewarding costs are not going to be less for 30,000 than a 70,000 stadium than there will be for a 30,000 stadium, because if you're opening every bit of it, I mean, potentially when Edinburgh played in, there's 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people, they could be sitting all over the stadium, but they don't open most of it, because if they open it, you've got to steward it. My biggest issue is just when it's going to be played. I mean, you're looking at the quarterfinals of the Heineken Cup end of September. You're looking at the final not until the middle of October, and then it's to restart again on the 11th of December. So I mean, it's not leaving an awful lot of time to fit international rugby. Now, the two things can coexist. I've done it in the past, but it diminishes one or the other. And I suppose you're right. It's the international stuff's where the money is when it comes right down to it. But it seems it's an awful lot of rugby in a very short space of time. Is the bottom line. Trying to get it all in that gap and allow and not. I mean, I know the players have had a big long rest just now, but you're still asking them to play a lot of rugby in a fairly concentrated period, and a lot of high pressure rugby as well, because you're looking at potentially the final stages of the Pro 14, the final stages of the Heineken Cup, and then also international rugby. It's not like the start of the season where it's not quite as tight,
Yeah. So, I mean, do you think we'll see any international rugby, John, this side of Christmas?
Get my crystal ball out here. In all honesty, no, I don't think we will. I think the possibility of getting organised enough to have international competition that supporters can attend, which, in all honesty, the only reason they would put these things on is if we can get a decent number of fans to attend. There's no point in putting it on, as Sandy says, even with 30,000, there's probably no point in putting it on with the costs involved. So I think you're going to have to get to a situation where you're quite clear of the majority of restrictions before you get international rugby. Again, club rugby is a bit different. Obviously the club game, the amounts involved are smaller, and people can there's less of an interest, let's say, apart from us lot, but obviously we're interested in the club game as well, just to be clear, just to get that in.
So we were accused on the offside line of not being interested in the club game. Somebody took one look at the blog and decided that there were too much pro rugby on there and not enough club.
Of course, we're interested.
Yeah, accused of a lot of things on the offside line. Remember, I'm both a Hawks and a Watsonians fan.
You are, yeah, that's true.
It's a good mix.
That's a hat that's hard to wear.
That'll bring out your Peely Wally complexion,
What you mean, like this webcam,
eh? I don't even know where I was going with that. And of course, we're interested in the club game because that's where the pro players come from. But
yeah, not private schools.
No, not at all. No, sensible answer. No international rugby before Christmas, I think.
I think the issue, like one of the things with the club game, what Dodson was saying, is like at least with the pro players, they can monitor them because they are SRU employees. Club players, they're having to go to work and all that, so they could be, this could just be the club game could be a petri dish for coronavirus, I think international wise, I think they might try and force the Six Nations through. Then potentially they could be like, oh, let's throw a Doddie-Weir Cup game in because they still need to do a Doddie-Weir Cup game, so they might have a return fixture with Wales, but with maybe with very limited seating. I mean, did you see this thing about how they were maybe going to have 1,000 people at one of the Glasgow Edinburgh games? Yeah. How do you pick the 1,000 people? And also, that would be crap. You've got 1,000 people in a 67,000 seater stadium.
Right, standard Edinburgh game, mate.
That's a pretty good turnout for them.
Does that include Doug's?
I mustn't check the numbers, you guys. That's not the case.
Yeah, your average is only good because we bring so many fans over twice a year, all right?
Because the SRU forces to come over twice a year.
More time this year.
I know your average attendance next time out will be absolutely amazing when you're hosting both Glasgow and Edinburgh games.
Aye.
I mean, it's certainly going to be interesting. I think you're probably right, Ian. I think you probably will see something, but I think it's more going to be no fans or very limited fans in empty stadiums, a bit like with the football. I mean, I'm biding my time, waiting for an opportunity to sponsor one of these faces in the crowds.
Yeah, cut out. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of scope for that. I think if between us between us and our listeners, if we could just have an entire stadium filled with Dougie Donnellys. I think that'd be absolutely amazing. The same photo.
Would it be that one from that you had on Twitter?
It would be, aye.
Beautiful.
I don't know if you saw there was I think somebody at the SRU proposing that perhaps we could have drive-in rugby in the same way that drive-in cinemas. So everybody would just turn up in the car park at Murrayfield and sit in their car and watch the game from there.
Watch the big screen. Yeah. As long as they bring, like, they've got burgers and stuff like that. Table service.
I need to buy a Range Rover just for the purposes.
I think anybody that can afford to drive to the parking on the back pitches in Murrayfield probably would need a Range Rover, Sandy.
And the burgers.
We're going to try something. We're going to move on from rugby now. We're going to try something now. On the night of the big dinner, our speeches, we're going to play them as live, but they're being pre-recorded just because logistically getting speakers in the room at the same time and everyone's internet working just seems like a logistical nightmare. So we're going to play the videos as live. So in order to a bit of a dress rehearsal, what we're going to do, we've got a new feature. If anybody's seen YouTube, there are lots of videos on there called Americans reacting to rugby. And John, you'll tell people while I set this up. Reaction videos are big on this is like Gogglebox, but on YouTube. Is that right?
Yeah. So reaction videos are so you can react to lots of different things. People react quite a lot to music that they've never heard. One of the kind of popular ones is you get kind of your hip hop fan reacts to metal and they listen to a song they've never heard before and they do an over the top reaction to it. You also get quite a lot of people reacting to new sports they haven't seen and things like that.
Or Two Girls, One Cup.
Ian! Live on Facebook!
It's 25 past 1. We're after the watershed. It's fine.
25 past 1?
Absolutely.
What country
I'm like 21 40. I'm looking at my clock in 24 hours.
He's got a small kid.
You've thrown me in with that comment.
Just
the reaction video. Don't look for the actual video, please, for the love of God. Do not look for the actual video.
Yeah, one of my favourite reaction videos that I came across recently was two rocking grannies react to Slipknot, and it's these two old women who basically just react to metal music. That the more hardcore metal they can find, the better, and it is bliss. It's so good. So I'm a big fan of reaction videos. Right.
So what we're going to do? This is Scottish people reacting to American people reacting to rugby. So. If this works,
are we the Scottish people?
We're the Scottish people.
Right, that's right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to play a video off YouTube, and so this is I have to apparently if we're on Facebook Live, I have to say this. This is a pre-recorded video from YouTube that we're going to watch now. Hopefully it'll work, and then after we're going to watch this video. It's about 10 minutes of a guy losing his mind. Watch this, and then we'll come back, and then we're going to talk about it. So let's see if this works. There's the man. Look. We're all there still. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, we sure can.
Oh, right.
That's
the
quite
proof is
grin.
the proof. That is quite a grin. He has. So this is average American. You can see. Look at the look in his face. He's got teeth.
It's a look of fear.
He's just seen Tuolagi.
I've suddenly realised it's just as well I've not been watching anything dodgy because you get my my algorithm telling me what I want to watch next on the side.
Surprised it's not just CBB shows, Cam.
That's true.
Fortunately, I can see Ricky Gervais. That's enough for me.
I know. I think it's because I watched clips from the Late Show, so that's the only reason that's
coming.
The next one is 10 minutes of Nigel Owen being Nigel Owen, which I don't know. I think you have to be in the mood for that. So we're going to watch this, and then afterwards we'll come back and have a wee chat about it. So here we go. Hopefully this will work with sound. Let's see.
Last week, I did a video watching this guy called Owen Farrell play rugby for the first time. Now, in the video, I said that the rugby hits were probably not as hard as football hits, or else they were needed pads. And so you guys put this video down in the comments down below.
He talks very fast.
And I did see it, and today we're going to be checking it out. What's going on, guys? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Now, I am super excited for today's video because today we're going to be checking out the top rugby hits, some nasty hits in rugby. This is like proof that rugby isn't like easier than football. It's just as hard with football. It's just they don't wear pads. Now, I am a little bit skeptical, not going to lie, because those dudes would just get killed, in my opinion, if they're actually hitting as hard as they do in football. But
every
who knows?
single reaction
Again, the New York Giants hat on. We actually won last week, so hat is back on. Anyway, guys, if you're new, I just want to say, can you please subscribe down below? Every single subscription helps a ton, and I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Anyway, guys, let's get into the video.
Here we go.
No chance to stop a big man or a little man. It's comical to look at, but it's not pleasant to be a part of it if that's you.
He's not reacting much so far, is he?
Oh! Wait, what? What? Right off the bat? Now, is that legal, guys? That cannot...
No, that's not legal,
This dude is not wearing a helmet!
Someone says a no-arm tackle.
Boom!
Yeah, that's a shoulder back.
What? I know it's the first one, but...
That was fine.
That's alright.
That's a great tackle.
What?
That's really well timed. Who's that?
That's a
Do they hit this hard usually, or is that not allowed?
Oh, that's too long, yes.
It didn't look as though there were a lot.
Not got it.
Wait, they hit the kicker as well? It's not even legal in like American football.
Yes, you can take the kicker.
Like once the guy kicks it, you can't hit him. He took a huge penalty.
Far down you go, Quackett Smith, and to give you the best action. Now look at this, boom!
Guys, what are the rules of tackling? I know it's just the video just started, but I'm already confused. How is this allowed?
I don't think this is all he's confused about.
No chance to stop a big man or a little man.
It's always good to see someone running.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, and too unlucky came in and absolutely.
So do they get like a lot of concussions or something, or a lot of injuries? Must, right?
Oh! Just taking somebody out. Smashing them.
Where's Ben Steen when you need him?
Come on the field.
Come on, they must get injured like a ton, right?
Being cute.
Hey, how bad are the concussions in rugby compared to other sports? Are they quite bad?
Aye, mate, they are.
Yes, that's fairly bad.
That dude, he got his brain clean out of him.
This is...
These guys are wearing pads, these guys are wearing helmets, these guys are wearing nothing.
They are wearing tools.
Oh, isn't he happy? Loves lining up his opponents.
I have a shirt with that on.
That's a decent hit.
Oh, there we go.
What? Yeah, he's like Fireman's carrying him.
Goodness.
Oh, yeah.
He's still down.
Oh, damn. That guy had already let go of the ball as well. It's called roughing the passer. You can't even do that in football either.
Oh, there's
Damn. So what's the rules? Is that allowed? Can you just hit people?
Hits tonight.
I'm not even gonna like not even joking. They're hitting harder than they do in football, and they're not wearing anything.
The reason I went to this video is because a lot of the hits
That's ridiculous.
are fairly legal, and a lot of them, the reaction videos, they
Bang!
won't.
Oh, bang! Just gets destroyed. That's nuts. That's nuts.
This was a skill delivery of this one because he absolutely vacuums that.
In the midfield.
I don't think that's low.
That's on the line.
Absolutely smacked right there. Because of course in football, American football, they're having a lot of issues with concussions at the moment. Oh, he's wearing a little helmet. Look at that. He's wearing a little helmet.
Go away, son. Go away.
Maybe that helps a little bit.
Oh, don't want
Seems
to
like what that
hit.
makes a bit of padding. But yeah, football, they're having huge concussion issues at the moment.
It's
the same in rugby? Must be, right?
And he gives it now to Genia. Oh, he is hammered by Naholo.
Like Naholo. Reflex from here, and he can tackle.
Were those hits all in the same game?
Backing into that. Genia.
3 minutes or
Full speed, too. I play like football and everything, and I can't even imagine this. What? Whoa! Look at that dude! Just goes.
Sit down,
Just goes.
son.
I've seen you know Christian Wade? He plays into the Buffalo Bills now. Not Giants, but the Bills. Yeah, it's crazy. When he gets hit, he doesn't even stop. I guess he's so used to it. 72 minutes.
Big hit coming in from Karevi, who read that one brilliantly. And now they switch the play.
Yeah, what are the tackling rules? You can't even do it. Oh, he's out.
Not for the first time today. Just
yeah, like if you can't hit the rough passer, so someone passes, you can't hit him a little bit better. You can't hit the rough kicker either.
No, it's terrible time.
He didn't even touch the kicker. These guys just go for it.
Parahir for Ben O'Donnell. O'Donnell for Port. Sean Port is wrong. And this is how you put an exclamation mark on a performance.
Always hate seeing that sort of thing.
He was trying to change
Tom Evans' injury was
he just threw the ball in the crowd.
Contact.
Look at that guy.
Horrible seeing those.
Big dude. Big dude.
Just catching the line out there from the Jones, and there's a big hit in midfield.
Oh!
And that's Brandra. I know he's one of your favourites.
Warner to Pollard. Oh, big hit. Well read there by Karevi.
Yeah, rugby doesn't stop, right? Like they don't end after the track
to bring his nation.
So there's no plays or anything. So you get injured. How does that work? You just have to wait for like the rest of the game, or what? Tiamotis has just been foul play. Oh, so it might have been a foul.
No.
Oh, what's his name? That was Farrell.
I think it was that angle, wasn't it? They decided it wasn't a penalty.
Where is the arm wrap? Where is it?
He was starting to put his arm out, but then he got hit. Yeah.
Ooh! Proper head. Oh, he's wearing a helmet. The blue.
You forget sometimes a Billy 12
that guy's wearing a
British
helmet.
and Irish line.
Why is the music on compilation videos always terrible?
I don't know. Answers on the postcard. If anyone knows, answers in the comments. Why is
It's supposed to be a copyright thing.
Whoa! Just spins it out. Nice. Whoa! It's so impressive. Oh, yeah, that was really good. That was quite a hard hit.
That's a good time.
That's an empty stadium, guys.
Why are those seats empty? Is there just no one at the game, or is it the
boys allowed
practice game or something?
Social distance ball boys.
That's where rugby's really popular. Right? The seats are empty there too. I swear rugby's like one of the most popular like sports in England.
In England. In all of England history.
Yeah, it's like what? It's like England, Australia, France, probably, I guess.
He slid into the
good
Europe now.
Oh yeah, and All Blacks, right?
Section once more.
Yeah, like boom, New Zealand.
In midfield, it's
Ireland. Of course, Ireland plays there.
and still going.
Look at that dude. Oh my.
Battering All Blacks.
That's a big one.
Space here for Rodder.
Has one foul again.
England captain got in the Giants' second row.
Split second.
Yeah, Farrell's kind of small. But look, he can even
shoulder
make
tackle
kids.
story again. But
how does he do that?
Illegally, yeah.
Terrific tackle. The try saver by the Wallaby number 7.
That's a great challenge.
Oh,
go on, Fab.
Wait, did you just hit him in the face? Is that what happened? Is that even allowed? Oh no, he didn't.
That was a pretty hard cock there.
Whoa.
I'll allow it.
Whoa.
Ian, I'll allow it.
That dude, he's just like, didn't even care. Yeah, look, a lot of these things have empty seats. Is that typical for a rugby game? Like, what's the viewership you see?
Typical and topical.
It's quite a popular sport, right?
Short ball for to take care of.
Guys, some of those tackles are ridiculous. They're like, they're legitimately much harder than a lot of the football ones. But yeah, guys, just a couple of questions. So I'm just wondering, number one, like, what are the rules on tackling? I'm gonna be watching some like USA rugby games and stuff.
Why are you
and the World
asking
Cup
a
coming up, so I
camera?
just want to know. Number two, like, what's the capacity of like do people watch a lot of rugby? Because a lot of those had empty seats. And I'm just wondering why that is. I thought it was like a super popular thing. Yeah, and then number three, like, injuries. Like, how do those guys stay alive? They're not wearing pads. They're not wearing helmets. They're not wearing nothing. And somehow they just get absolutely creamed, and it's just fine. I don't understand how that works. Anyway, guys, if you did enjoy the video, if you did, please subscribe down below. Also, guys, I'm depreciating Patreon.
I'm going to stop him. I don't want to promote this guy's thing. I'll stop my screen share now. So that was an American reacting to rugby. I guess one thing we've learned is that sharing the screen and the sound works. So that's good news for the big dinner.
That's what we were aiming for.
I was thinking about this earlier today when I was trawling through videos trying to find one. And I think the problem with a lot of these ones, because of some of the questions that they ask, is it's a bit like pornography. Like, and the kids having access to like, you know, all sorts of stuff in terms of porn, that unless you're with somebody to sit you down and go, it's not always like this, you know, in a normal loving relationship. You've got your 15-all draws. Or in the games where you barely grind out a win. Do you know what I mean? That's much more typical than the, you know.
Sometimes it's very disappointing, to be fair. Someone's going to leave, you know, not fulfilled.
We thought you'd done that just after that video, Ian.
I could listen to his voice. I was like, I'm getting a beer. Actually, I've not bought Stella for God knows how many years, but I just thought, you know what, I'll have a couple. I'll buy a 4-pack of Stella.
Do we have to at this point make aware that other beers are available? Yes,
other beers are available, much better beers. But it's just because, you know, we're all skint now, so I'm having to go away supermarket push. So, until I get back to my fancy dan craft shops, you know.
You need to grow your hair back for that as well.
I know, fucking hell. Did I tell you how I did this? I woke up on a Saturday morning at I just woke up at like 4:30, and I couldn't get back to sleep, so I cleaned the windows. This is what lockdown has done to me. And then it's like 6:30, like, so I hadn't had my hair cut in about 10 weeks. I used my beard trimmer and tried to shave my entire head with a beard trimmer. It took over an hour.
Yeah, I'm using beard trimmer as well. Mine's supposed to do hair, but I have to unclog it at least 5 times during the haircut.
The blade on mine's only like an inch wide, and then I've got an oddly shaped head, so it just kept on getting shorter and shorter until it was like total buzz cut. So this is about 4 weeks old now. It's about 4 weeks.
I've got a Skype haircut. It's absolutely mad monster at the back. It looks horrendous at the back, but it's fine at the front.
Is it Hamish Watson at the back?
It is. It's going to the neck. At the back.
Yes. Business at the front, party at the back.
Party at the back.
And my wife refuses to help me cut it because she's worried about cutting me, even though I've assured her that she can't do that. Although my brother's wife did accidentally forget to put the guard back on his and cut a nice chunk at the back of his neck.
I've done that trimming my beard before and had to shave my entire beard off. Like the guard fell off. I hadn't clipped it in properly. It just fell off. Oh no!
To be fair, the shape she'd cut looked like a single flame. I said she should have just done a few more in and, you know, styled it out.
Nobody's going to see it anyway.
What do you see in reaction videos, John? Because all the ones I had this idea to do this meta thing where we would react to people reacting to stuff, and then I started watching the videos, and without exception, they were all absolutely awful. There was one which was a man reacting to Finn Russell, and the reason I didn't post it is he didn't seem that impressed, and that offended me.
Right.
Yeah, that video earlier on, it sent me down a rabbit hole of Finn Russell, which was a joyous hour. What did I see in reaction videos? So I watch a lot of the music reaction videos, and I find it's quite entertaining to look at people discovering music that you know quite well and seeing the reaction to it for the first time. It's kind of, you get to relive your kind of experience of the first time you heard a song or an album, or, you know, saw a live gig or something. So there's kind of an element of nostalgia to it. I do agree that the reactions to rugby videos are uniformly rubbish, sadly. Even although the ignorant American one, he done a 45-minute reaction to the Calcutta Cup game where he went in depth, having only had about a month's knowledge of rugby. He went in depth into everything that had happened in the Calcutta Cup. He also called Scotland Wales for about the first 20 minutes, which was quite funny as well.
How many times did he mention Braveheart?
He was a big fan of mentioning who he loved. Darcy Graham. He loved absolutely mentioning Darcy Graham at every possible moment.
Who doesn't?
Even when he wasn't involved, he's just like, look what Darcy Graham's doing there. It's like, yeah, he's standing on his wing. It's okay. It's okay, chill.
The interesting one thing I did think about this, Sandy, and I'm interested in your take. One thing that did come out again and again is the big hits are when the defender comes at an angle out of the line, because the attacker's really not expecting it, is he? Because the attacker tends to fix his man and try and go around him and in between him and the other guy. If someone comes in at an angle, and blindsides him effectively, it's quite an effective tool for a big hit.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, it's if you're blindsided, they're always the best for visuals when you're not expecting it and not had a chance to say yourself. I'm sure that's always the best. And I've seen plenty of those where you're like, great hit, and the next thing you know, he's getting a yellow or a red card, and you're like, okay, maybe it wasn't such a great hit. I've got to wind my neck in on those occasionally these days.
It's funny how much the game's changed like so quickly as well, though, because like even just like sort of early are we calling them the Tensies? Is that what we called them? Sort of 2011, 2012 time.
Let's go with that. Let's go with Tensies.
Go with Tensies. I think we called it Tensies in our review. I think we did, but possibly. But even looking at highlights of games back then, you see there's still people lifting in the tackle. You know, the dump tackle, as it was known, is still quite a popular trend at that point. I loved a dump tackle during the game. It was great. But it so quickly left the game. Like, people just can't do that anymore. And it was almost like overnight that changed. And it does, like, I guess you just don't see those. I mean, obviously there was quite a lot of New Zealand, Australia in there, but you don't tend to see those absolutely ridiculous hits as much as
unless Owen Farrell's involved.
Well, shoulder boys, a law into his own.
That was Scottish people reacting to American people reacting to rugby. It's a one-off. I don't think we're doing that again. It proves the system works, so we can share screens.
Yeah, so that was just a test. So it's not a. I don't think it's a segment that needs repeated.
No, I don't think it won't be a regular section.
Proven we can land on the moon. Let's not do it again.
What's the comments in the comments section?
Well, we've got in the comment section on our live video or on YouTube.
No, the YouTube thing, because he seemed to be asking questions throughout. And I thought to myself, who's he asking? Because
you don't comment live.
To be fair, Sandy, he's got 500,000 views on that one video, which is he's doing all right. It's lots of people just calling him out on it. So someone said Fallout 1234 says Farrell's kind of small. He's 6'2". KTU says, wait till this dude finds out that women play too.
There was a reaction video earlier on I was watching where the guy cut to it was one of these big hit compilations, and it had a couple of the women's games in there, and the guy just lost his mind. He just exploded. It was amazing.
Yeah, there's he's roughing the passer and the kicker. Is that even legal? And then someone just commented, every rugby player dies laughing. But yeah.
There's a flag on the play. There's a flag on the play.
That's a great lateral.
I should just give a shout out. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in this evening. We have got Alan McDonald, long-term listener and once guest on the podcast during our Banderscotch episode. Was tuning in earlier. I don't know if Alan's still there, but hello to Alan. He said he loving the studio cami. If anyone is watching us, we're coming to the end of the podcast. So if you've got any, you can literally ask us anything. I'm looking now at the comment section. If anyone wants to ask us a question, doesn't matter how ridiculous, by all means, ask us a question in the comments. And so long as it's suitable to be read out, although we are after the watershed.
Give us the unsuitable ones as well.
Go on. I'll edit it out for the podcast going live.
We'll put it on Patreon or something.
I was just going to ask if your curtains were based on a Wetherspoons carpet, Cammy.
That's a fair comment. My curtains are marginally better than a Wetherspoons carpet, not by much.
Do the curtains match the carpet there, Cammy?
I'd have to lift the laptop up to show you, and I'm not doing that. I'm not risking it. We'll move swiftly on anyway. I think we'll skip hands in the ruck. I'm going to do the big talking point. The RFU are threatening to ban. Well, they're not threatening to ban Swing Low Sweet Chariot. They're going to gently, politely have a review and think about gently, politely asking people to think about not singing it anymore. There's a debate in Wales about whether or not Welsh fans should carry on singing Delilah because of it, the fact it's essentially a song about domestic violence. So that got me thinking, what songs should we consider banning in Scotland? I don't think there's anything too, morally, I don't think there's anything too wrong, although what we shout out after and stood against in Proud Edward's Army maybe needs reviewing. Although potentially in context you're talking about the army rather than the nation, the invading nation itself. Is there anything more? I mean, I don't think there's anything morally we need to review, John, or is there?
No, I mean, I don't think there's anything jumping out. I totally agree with you. I think it's interesting to see when you're at Murrayfield, the number of people adding their own lyrics to Flower of Scotland has declined significantly from, I remember being at games in the sort of late 90s and it was all-encompassing. Admittedly, there only was about 20 people there, but, you know, now it's not as bad, and I think hopefully that continues. But I think we've got quite a sort of neutral relationship with music at rugby. You know, even again looking at the club game, both Glasgow and Edinburgh, neither of them have songs as such. We don't really have. We've got the, you know, tunes that they put on for certain players, but there's not really anything that is kind of fixed. So I don't think we've necessarily got the problems that Swing Low, and I read the lyrics to Delilah the other day after reading that, and I did not understand what the hoo-ha was about till I read the lyrics and then was like, oh.
Yeah, okay. I think to be fair, I don't think anybody does, because it's only ever the chorus that people sing.
Yeah. And
I think it's the same. You know, it's the same with Swing Low. I don't think nobody's singing that out of malice. It's just something that people always sang back in the. You know, it was a rugby song with gestures that went alongside it. I don't think anyone's singing it out of any malice or anything. It's more just in the current context, knowing what people should mostly now know. The songs are kind of. You know, and there's nothing even wrong, I don't think, with Delilah. With Delilah as a song, I've got an album of Johnny Cash murder ballads. I'm not about to go and murder anybody, but at the same time, I'm not going to sing any of those songs live at Murrayfield during a match. I'm not about to start singing Folsom Prison Blues, although I might potentially. I
think we should get a rousing rendition of Hey Joe the next time by Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Is this us making plans for our next World Cup single already, guys?
Yeah.
I'm not singing Hey Joe. I think there's that's got the same issues as Delilah.
Very much so, yeah. The Delilah thing, that had been raised a couple of years ago. I think it was 2016. Was it
2016 as an MP.
Carbon James, I think it was. I was reading about this last week, actually, when the whole Swing Low thing happened, and then obviously, you know, your Twitter gets slabbed with, oh yeah, but what about Flower of Scotland? It's like that doesn't necessarily. That's very much in the past. It's also very much a sort of that happened, but you know, I mean, this when people say this, just the line, but we can still rise now and be a nation again. That's what I always come to. You know, it's those days are past now. Yeah, you know, leave them there. Indeed,
I know. But it's a song about coming together as a group of people, isn't it? It's a song about and I don't think
defeating a larger enemy as an underdog.
And the song is more about an invading army than the nation. It's not talking about England as a nation. It's an invading army and an invading king. England aren't mentioned once in the song, and the English aren't mentioned in the song at all.
To be fair, there's not a line about crushing rebellious Scots in there.
Precisely. Just when Cammy said that, I was like, you know, the English aren't mentioned in that, but in God Save the Queen, the Scots are.
Yep.
Maybe we just have to re-envisage that Flower of Scotland is actually about Nick Grigg's defensive structure, and it's all about just, he's just going to fly out the line and he's going to smash someone, but people will get past him, and those days will be past.
Yeah, maybe she's it should be an allegory for hopefully Finn Russell's and Greg Townsend's continuing relationship.
The reconciliation.
Those days are past now, and in the past they shall remain. I think the only song I would potentially ban is Shang-a-Lang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, Murrayfield.
This is going to be unpopular opinion. Sorry, Sandy, what was that?
Highland Cathedral, that's got to go. That's just...
Highland Cathedral is awful.
I only just realised not so long ago it's actually written by a German. No, not that it's not even a Scottish song. It's written by a German, which seems just wrong.
I think the lyrics are all new. There's not even lyrics to it.
Yeah, there originally wasn't lyrics. Somebody made lyrics. Yeah, it's just someone trying to fit it in, and whenever I hear people suggest it as an alternative anthem, I just cringe at it. I'm just like, get it away. But I think one of the issues is that I have this strange absolute loathing of Andre Rieu, because I kept on... So I used to get the train at work and I used to see him on posters, and I just... like his stupid mullet and his frilly collar. And then it's like... Sky Arts seems to show him every week. So it's just like... I flick through it a little bit, and then he was doing Highland Cathedral one time. I was like, that's that song completely destroyed. I don't even care if Kelly Brown's singing it at my funeral. I want nothing to do with it. Get it away from me.
I'm gonna agree with you there. The Kelly Brown version, no matter what people say, is still rubbish. It can bowl. Yeah. I still don't like it. It's crap. Get it.
Right. Actually, what was my first thing was 500 miles. Get it.
We've been in that as well.
I just fucking sick of hearing it.
Everywhere, I
can't get away from it.
500 miles is that there's a really... Have you all seen the episode of How I Met Your Mother with 500 miles? It's perfectly encapsulated. It's an episode where I don't enjoy How I Met Your Mother, but there was one episode which has 500
Ted
miles.
Guy's an ass.
He is. I mean, the whole thing at the end, whereas How I Met Your Mother is, I met her and then she died, and then I went back with a woman I liked anyway. Spoilers.
Interesting fact about Kobe Smulders. Kobe Smulders is exactly the same age as me. She was born the exact same day that I was.
She's Scottish as well, isn't she?
I thought she was Canadian. I thought you were going to say she's so much better looking than you, Ian, which is going to be upsetting. Was she? I'm going to have to look that up.
You look that up, I'll tell you that. But so there's an episode of How I Met Your Mother where they're driving a car and the car has a tape stuck in it, and that tape is the single of 500 miles. And the entire episode is they're either singing it at the top of their lungs or they're just absolutely sick of the song and it just goes in waves. That's my relationship with 500 miles. There'll be some times where you're like, this is it, boys. Here we go, 500 miles. And then the next minute you're like, I can't stand that song. I can't listen to it anymore.
I was in, I used to hear, when I worked in New Zealand, right, we had live music bands on every night, and there'd be like 5 of them a week would do 500 miles and ruin it. And even last year, mind how I missed the Pro 14 final because I was on holiday in America. I was in a bar in Brooklyn, karaoke night. I went out for a vape, and someone starts doing 500 miles. I started talking to the bouncer about it. I was like, I can't escape this song. This song follows me everywhere. And Rona also pointed out that when it comes to the line, when I have her, they kind of looked, the people singing it looked at each other confused, went, when I have her?
Can we...
the Less Than Jake version? No. I think is it Less Than Jake or Real Big Fish? They're a cover, and they go when I have her, whatever that means. Is it in a sort of Flower of Scotland?
I have to. Well, I don't have to. I play in a band and with my tuba, which I'd had a request to play it live, and for the sake of my neighbours and because we record these podcasts late at night, that's not happening.
Next time.
So we play 500 miles, and it's a wind band. So I've got the bass line. So I'd literally for 5 minutes go dump 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 dubba dubba dub dump dump. And I've tried to argue that buy me a loop. Well, I said I've tried to argue with the conductor to buy me a loop pedal so I can just play it once.
Just a biddy.
I'm done. I'm off to the bar for 5 minutes.
Go get a beer.
The end of the song.
You could be like 80 synth guy, just like hold one note down and put your hand up one white glove.
if this hasn't been photoshopped already, it has to be done right now. Cammy in 80s gear, playing a synth, just playing a single note. Hand of the air, just brilliant.
Anyway,
and Colby Smulders was born in Vancouver.
She was, but there's something to do with her being Scottish. I'm sure I've read that. She might have Scottish parents.
Smulders is a Dutch name. She's got a Dutch dad or something like that. Campbell's Scottish, as you can possibly guess by the Campbell part. She was also Canadian and quite attractive.
It's worth asking, Ian, where was your paper round in comparison to Kobe's? Because
I never had a paper round.
I mean, it shows.
The first job I got was in Sports Direct.
I think that technically that's a paper round.
It's actually paid less, probably. By the time you're done. Honestly, so your shift would be like you'd be paid up until when the shop shut, which was 6 o'clock. But you weren't allowed to leave until the shop was tidy. And if the regional manager were in, and sometimes the regional manager was being a complete dick, one time we didn't get you only got paid up till 6 o'clock, and we didn't get to leave until 7:45 one night. He was like, you can't leave until the shop's tidy. That's how Sports Direct worked. And this is even before they brought in 0 hours contracts. When I was getting paid, I got a pay upgrade to £4 an hour rather than the £3.60 that other people were on.
It's a huge pay rise, Ian.
I know, massive, innit? It's.
Mike Ashley was looking after you. You must have been his bestie.
You could have almost afforded what would it taking? So it would taken you over 3 hours to to buy a set of Donny socks.
Nice. You could have bought a Donny umbrella every hour.
Even with the staff discount, you're talking over a day's shift to afford a football top. Probably, yeah.
Worth every penny. And
once you factor in the fact you need to get lunch and transport, get the bus up would have been, I think, 180. Oh God, back in the day, eh?
There we go. And on that note,
on that nostalgic note.
We'll leave it for this. Thank you to everybody who's joined us on Facebook. We're up to 14 people at one point.
Hey,
it's amazing. Well, I hadn't really made a big play of it. We'll make it. Join us next week on our Facebook page. We'll do a proper bit more of a build up to it. Now we've got the technology working, we know how it works. But this will be going out anyway as a normal podcast if you want to listen back to it, minus the us watching the video, because nobody wants to listen to that.
No,
it makes no sense at all. I don't even want
to listen to it.
No, you didn't.
I don't know.
So we'll be back next week with another podcast, probably a bit of a roundup and wrap up of the season, and then we'll be back on the 24th of July for our big club dinner to raise money for clubs in Scotland. If you are a club, set up a virtual bar, send us your link. We'll try and get that up on the blog. We're going to put links to how you can find who your local club is and how you can get in touch with them to send them some money. And we'll also be asking you if you've got a bit of spare cash to donate some to My Name's Doddy as well. But for the moment, it is goodbye from me and goodbye from John, Ian and Sandy.
Goodbye.
And I've stopped the live stream.
Hey.
That seemed to work. Good.
That was excellent.
That was good. That worked.
Yeah, no,
it's quite good to be able to see each other, because then we can it helps for visual cues for when to start talking or what have you.
Yeah, I found it easier to kind of jump in and stuff like that. It's a bit harder.
I think the audio quality is better on here as well.
Yeah. I was just going to ask that. How was the audio?
Alex was saying the audio was really good for the most part. The video was too loud.
Right.
Right.
So when you played the American dude, it was a wee bit too loud, but the actual quality itself was really good, and the format really worked.
Cool. Awesome. Yours is a bit tinny, Sandy, I was going to say, but I don't know if it's because you've got it switched on your external mic or something, but we can sort that out.
At one point, I came up on my screen saying that your Sandy's network bandwidth.
Aye, something like you hadn't paid your broadband bill or something.
Aye. It's probably the bairns in the other room with the Wi-Fi.
Get them off Fortnite when you're podcasting. I told Genevieve.
I don't know, John. See these.
I think it's getting played.
All these Edinburgh punters with their poor broadband.
Honestly, they lived in our little city that even had a venue that could feature in the Eurovision. Campbelltown's get better broadband than us. I actually watched that film today.
They frequently have no phone service. Never mind broadband.
Well, you couldn't get Channel 5 in Berwick even when they switched off the terrestrial signals.
No fucking great loss, mate.
I couldn't watch. I wanted to watch. They used to have good quality kind of.
They used to have like Argentine football and stuff like that.
At least have soft porn on it late at
They
night.
did, yeah.
All right, well,
yeah.
like you do soft porn, I'm into Argentine football.
That's what you call it, Argentine football.
There's nothing to do in bed
You
for
got
a
any
16-year-old.
Argentine football behind the counter?
We talked about that in the night on the Lions tour one, Cammy. One of the, or was it the Gladiators? No, it was the Gladiators of '97. We talked about Channel 5 and
Confessions of a Window Cleaner, the Red Shoe Diaries, and all that.
You couldn't get it in Beauty either, unless you were at a certain part of the island and you were
my aunt lives in Ealing, and like her satellites. Say if it's windy, she can't get Channel 5.
Well, I see. I couldn't get Channel 5, but if because of the way that like Berwick is out on the coast, I could get Grampian if I hung by the window. Because it overhangs. So you hang out the window, used to watch because you couldn't. We had BBC One England, so if you wanted to watch the Scottish Cup final, hang out the window, you get Grampian.
Perfect. There you go.
On a good day, with a clear day. Well, what we'll do is when we do it on the night, I'll start the meeting at 8, and we can get everything tested and make sure everyone's sounding.
How many people we got?
We've got 6 of us, I think. So there's because there'll be Rory, Uslot, and Rory and Al.
Cool. What happened to Brody? Brody fucking
disappeared off the face of the earth, I think.
I'll just get prepared for the night.
The night.
Now.
I'm thinking.
I need to get a tie for somewhere. I'm going to put a plea out for a tie.
What tie have you got, Sandy? Have you got one?
Not got. I'm going to have to try and. I'm either going to try and get a one from my last club I played for, Northern Ties. I don't know, but we'll see. I need to try and get one. I was trying to wonder about whether I should ask someone if they wanted to pay some money for charity that I would wear it for.
That's what John's done, isn't it?
That's what I was going to do as well. I was going to say, like, whoever wants to, like, fucking, you send me a tie, I'll donate to your club.
Aye.
I'll wear it for 10 minutes or whatever, like, depending on how many, like, fucking if any country responds. But like, however many you get, like, I'll wear it for 20 minutes.
So sponsor a host.
Yeah, chuck you a $5. You get your club shouted out on the fucking podcast.
And if you want to send me your club shorts as well, I'll show them off.
And your socks come into that kind of thing.
Well, I'm tempted. My dad said I can have his Berwick blazer.
Nice.
So we're going up. So we're going up the week before. That's why I'm not doing a pod the week before. We're going up because they're going camping, so we can go and use their house. So I'm going to nab his blazer. President's blazer.
Full blazer wanker. Fantastic.
You get that one that Bruce Aitchison wears. That would be the good one.
Oh, that's pretty special. I've got a shot like that.
It's very MCC. That.
I need to set up. I'm going to set when I share screen. I'm going to make sure I set up loads of folders. Like there's a wee bit like Easter eggs. So I'm going to have a folder of Owen Farrell and George Ford fan fiction.
Oh yes.
So it shares desktop. All this stuff will pop up.
Is there? So in terms of the
oh no, sorry, sorry, terrible. You know what we should do? It's like you know how G loves like stop motion animation. Get him to like do some George Ford Owen Farrell erotic fan fiction with Lego.
I'm sure he would be up for that.
Yeah. What were you saying before, John?
I was just going to. I don't even fucking know now. Lost.
You lost in a puddle of fucking old George Ford Owen Farrell sex.
Puddle of desperation right here. Cool. Oh no! Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Remembered. I've got George Ford and Owen Farrell in my head now. So, in terms of the speeches, Cam, are we? Yep. So, obviously, just the same format as you have tonight. You'll just play it up on the screen. Just for us, obviously, we'll be.
And I'll get you guys to mute. So if you mute your mics during it, and then afterwards we'll have we'll just say pick up any talking points that were in the speech, because I've not given anyone a brief. I've just said talk about whatever you want, 5 to 7 minutes. Dougie Donnelly's doing his 10. I'll do it so that I'll do Dougie Donnelly and Scott Hastings at the end.
Yeah,
to keep people watching.
So if you Dougie D, Ronan Lloyd, Holly Davidson,
Scott Hastings,
Squidge as well. Squidge.
Yeah, potentially I've got Gabby Logan has either ghosted me or she's doing it. Because a PA got back and they seemed keen, and then she said, "What do you want her to say?" And I said, "Well, whatever she wants, it's in the style of an after dinner speech." And I haven't heard back, so that either means they're doing it or they're not replying out of politeness,
or she's got lots of ribald jokes she's editing it.
I know. And then who's the other one? Oh, and then Jay Bowen said he might get Al Kellogg for us, but I haven't heard back from him because I said could we have Dee Bradbury, but she's not well. I think she would have done it otherwise.
Someone said she'd had a heart attack.
Your pal Aristotle had it on his website that she'd had a heart attack and apparently a stroke.
Fuck me. That's a fucking double whammy.
I couldn't find that on his blog. Has he taken it down then, Sandy, or is it still on there?
I've not looked at it since last week, but it was in the middle of another. I mean, he obviously tends to kind of
go on,
waffle a wee bit in different things. It was in the middle of something else, but he said that she'd had a heart attack and a stroke, and was obviously recovering in hospital, I think in Glasgow. I'm not sure. It wasn't the most recent one, but it was to say it was in the middle of something else. So it was like it got lost.
Would it be in bad taste to say that's one of the, there's a big name move from Edinburgh along the M8 to Glasgow? That's the first time that's happened for a while.
I've stopped recording and you're fine.
Nobody's here.
You're fine. We're not on Facebook anymore.
I had a fucking shocker I came up with earlier today. I was like, I'm not even fucking saying that. It's like COVID stuff, and I'm like, I'm not saying it out loud. That's fucking. I'm a sick bastard. That's all. Just be glad, obviously, we should get inappropriately drunk at the club dinner this month. I'm a little bit drunk. I'd been for a nap earlier. I got up stupidly earlier. I went for a nap. I did all my research, and then I was like, "Fuck it, I'm going for a kip." And then I didn't wake up until 8:45.
Oh, you should be pleased to note that mine is 0 alcohol. I'm still on my 0 alcohol beeries.
I've been fucking rattling into you know my script I'm doing, John, Vampirates.
Oh, Vampirates, yep.
Yeah, yep. The outline is nearly done. I just wrote a 2-page action sequence.
I've been telling Alex about Vampirates. She's kind of excited.
Fucking, it's nearly done, man. The thing is, right, I'm a absolute lazy cunt, and also I've been playing The Last of Us 2, which is one of the greatest things even The Last of Us is one of the greatest bits of entertainment fucking that's ever been produced. Last of Us 2 is longer and nearly better. So I get distracted quite quickly. See if I could actually stay focused. I could have finished Vampires months ago, but it's fucking complicated. I'd almost feel sorry for Michael Bay if he didn't destroy things. I mean, this is Michael Bay should direct this, but it'll confuse him because it's actually got a story.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
No, he's not into that.
Right, Cam,
I'm going to go and try and upload. I'm going to go and upload this to and take out. I think we're all right with what Ian said.
Most of it, yeah.
Mostly.
The hard cock thing that was live. So
that was fine. That was the thing, and it was the two girls in the cuppers around the same time. So right.
That's just the reaction video.
That's fine. Okay. Cheers, that guys. Good test.
You say that now.
Aye. Speak to you all later.
Right,
it's easy. Thanks, guys.